Continued possession for Atlanta. This one served in, header, and a great swat out by McLearned.
What's going on, folks? It is Scott Shirkson from Streampunk Soccer. Hope you guys are having yourselves a great day out there. Joining me today, NYCFC II goalkeeper, 22-year-old Mr. McLearned. He'll talk a little bit about his experience with NYCFC, talk about his experience growing up, playing soccer over in Sacramento, and basically anything, life, universe, and everything that's on his mind. But sir, how the heck are you, man?
I'm doing great, Scott. Very nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Likewise, I appreciate the time one way or another, everything top to bottom here, man. So talk a little bit about your experience with NYCFC II. Talk a little bit about what the growth has been like, what you've learned as a player, things that basically just whatever comes to mind in your progress so far.
Yeah, so I want to start back to all the way to preseason. So I got a call kind of a week before the first team's preseason, and I was like, this is a huge opportunity for me. I know they need a number for goalie wise. They need another person to come in, and I was willing to go in with the mindset that anything can happen and just hope for the best. And I worked hard in preseason, and from there they offered me a second team contract, and I signed in February, and yeah, so I've just been on the grind since. I've trained a few times with the first team, kind of getting the experience with that. It's kind of very nice bouncing back and forth, like learning from them and then applying it to the second team's trainings and how I can improve my game constantly, watch film. We do film a lot with the second team. That's something that I did in college, but here it's constant and it's all the time. So it's very nice to look back on ways you can improve yourself and ways to, I guess, help your team out to the best of your ability. So it's been a great experience so far, and I'm loving every second of it. I'm living my childhood dream. So it's good to always be out on the pitch and stay healthy. So, yeah.
Nice. Let's talk a little bit about that, the upbringing in this case here. This is not one of those things where you wake up at, say, 20, 21, 22 years old and be like, you know what, I want to be a pro soccer player. This is one of those things that you have to start out at the youth academies. You have to start out sometimes as early as 6 years old getting these things going. But talk a little bit about the progress. Let me ask you this. When did you start? What was the first year?
I like to say 4.5 years old. My dad was my very first coach, and I'll always hold that over my head. He's like, you know what? It all started when you were 4.5. Just remember that. So I played in California my whole life. I went through just club teams, and then once they made it was like the USDA Academy program. I joined Sac Republic, which was my local team. So I was with them for 2 years when I was about 14, 15. But yeah, before then I was just playing local. I was just playing on local clubs, and I kind of bounced around a little bit, guest played for some teams, but I was in love with it. So I tried to get as many games as I could. It would be funny. I'd practice one day at like 4 p.m. and then I'd bounce over to another team that I was playing for at 7 p.m. So I was constantly always trying to play the game, and yeah, I loved it growing up. So yeah.
It was sort of, in a lot of ways, its own full-time job. And that's the biggest thing that people don't realize, is that it's not a part-time hobby to get to where you guys are. It is a full-time commitment, and not just basically in the field practice, but watching film, studying, learning, taking a look at what you've done. The advantage in your case is there's so much more digital content to be able to look at something and be like, okay, I should have made this, I should have adjusted this. I, had, maybe the wrong leg in this case, I could have reached, I could have done this. That is something so much better than what it used to be back in the day, where you tried to get some VHS tape or anything you can get. But you talked about the fact that your father was, your first coach in this case. What was that like growing up? Because, he coached you, in the matches themselves, in training, and then he'd come home, and would he coach you then, or was it a separation at that point?
So I'd say the first 4-ish years of my life, that's when or 4 years of soccer, that's when he really coached me. And then I'd say around 9 years old, I then got like a club coach. So someone that had multiple teams that was trying to develop me as a player. But going back to like if he trained me outside of just regular practice and stuff, it's kind of funny. We'd be in like the backyard, and he'd be just kicking a ball at me for fun, and I think I'd just go home and it'd just be a great time with my dad. So even on the field, he was hard on me, but he always wanted the best for me. He wanted me to try my absolute hardest, and I guess it kind of translated to back home life. I would just practice with him and just have fun and still try against him, try and always beat him if he's trying to shoot on me or when I
Father-son
was
dynamic,
really
it never changes.
right, yeah. So he was a hard worker himself. He did college sports. He was a runner, and
Hmm.
he had a lot of offers in college to go to various places, and he knows what hard work is. So growing up with that, I think he kind of wanted to implement that early into my head, and so I think outside of just practice and training, I would always do the extra, and he would not advise me to do it, but he would encourage it in a very friendly, I guess, fun way. So outside of soccer, I would still like have fun with him, but still work hard, whether it's going on a run or um, just do a little extra practicing. So
What do you feel was probably one of the bigger challenges that you've had? Where you cross something and you're like, what am I missing here, man? Did that ever happen to you?
yes, definitely. I would say in college, I kind of obviously I got recruited and everything throughout high school. And I ended up going local to Sacramento State, and it was a great experience the first year. It's a lot of bigger guys. When you go in as a freshman, I was a late bloomer. I was 5'6" in high school.
Mhm.
I finally grew my senior year and I became like 6'3", and I was skinny. I was skinny and frail. And as a goalie and against these college guys, you need to really it's a physical game. It's a very
Mhm.
physical game. It's a lot different than club like passing and a lot of more technical stuff. College is very tactical, physical game, and I think that was my major roadblock. I was undersized for what I needed to be. Like if I'm going up for a cross, I would get knocked out of the way, or um, I would just be almost like afraid to get stuck into these older, bigger guys. And I so that winter after my very first real college season, I hit the weights, and with that, you still need to do a lot of technical stuff. So I had the size the next semester, but I kind of lost that technical aspect of stuff.
Mhm.
So um, that's next semester after that. That's when I really connected, and I was like, okay, I'm getting it all back. I have the size now. I'm had the technical ability, and I think it always goes back to why you do it.
Mhm.
Why are you playing? Why do you love it? And I really found I fell back on what I knew and on why I fell in love with the sport.
Mhm.
And I ended up having a great last 2 seasons there. And so yeah, I was able to overcome that roadblock for sure.
And the self-doubt. You
Yeah,
know, that's
yeah,
yeah. It's one thing when you're a bigger fish in a smaller pond, but then when you suddenly move up, and that's just true in any sport in general, where you move up to that next level, and suddenly you're no longer king of the hill anymore. You're just a kid on the hill.
yeah.
And in your case, there, see, 6'3" is a great height for a goalkeeper. What's your weight now?
I'm about 190,
Okay.
195. Yeah, so I definitely filled in. I probably gained 30 pounds from college, which I was very light for when I was
Mhm.
in college. But now I have good size, and yeah, definitely it was a process, but a lot of hard work.
Nice. A couple more questions, and I promise to let you go in this case.
No.
What is your daily routine right now? Because obviously the workout part of it, watching video, the field aspect. What is it from like 8 in the morning to 8 at night?
You wanted me to go like practice day or game day?
Let's go practice day because game day is the result of practice.
Exactly. Okay, yeah, I like that. I like that. Practice, so I'll wake up around 7.
Mhm.
That way I'm not rushing out the door, and like
Mhm.
my eyes don't have to adjust as I'm going into practice, which I found to be an issue like a couple years ago. I was like, I'd be rushing to practice and I'm like still waking up. But now I'm in a very, very good routine. So wake up at 7. Um, I'll have my coffee around 8,
Mhm.
8-ish, after I drive to practice, it takes like 30 minutes. So 7, wake up, probably leave around 7:45, 8. Out the door, I get here around 8:15, 8:30, have some breakfast, have breakfast by 9. Then I go in the gym, I start stretching for a bit before we have meetings, usually around 10, 10:30. Around 10, 10:30, we watch film to basically go over stuff in practice or stuff in the game that we want to look at, or stuff that we need to look at for the next game. So it's always preparation and just rewatching stuff that we need to work on. And usually what we're watching in film is what we implement into the practice that day. So it's very fresh in our mind and it becomes habit for what we want to do. So we get done with film around 11-ish. And then from there, I'm in the gym doing activation for 30 minutes and usually out to practice by 11:30. Yeah, about 11:30. Practice for about hour and a half, 2 hours. So done around 1:30. And then usually hit the weight room after, get a little extra work in. And so that's done around 2:30. And then after that, recover. So I recover for about 30 minutes to an hour. That's like ice tub. You got the bathtub, you got a sauna. So I try to take recovery really seriously because of how much we're doing. It's important to like keep the body fresh for the week and for the upcoming travel or games. So, and then once done with recovery, shower, and overall done by 3:30. And
Nice.
then head home. Yeah.
And just, relax at that point, maybe watch some footage or whatever you want to do just to recharge the batteries a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And then usually dinner around 6. So yeah, recharge the batteries and sometimes a little extra stretching if we've had a pretty heavy lift day. That always helps. I'll take we have these compression sleeves called Normatex. I'll take those home and just try and recover to the best of my ability. So
Perfect.
yeah.
Do you have any superstitions of any sort? This was asked to me by someone else to ask you that.
Yes, I do. Right before I put my cleats on, I'll set them up and I'll go I'll go right sock first, left sock. Then I have to go left cleat, right cleat, and then I tie the right cleat and tie the left cleat. And it's just like a routine that if I do it, it's just like I know I'm focused. I know I try and limit my superstitions, but that's one that it's like my routine. I'm like, all right, I've had my routine. I've done everything to prepare, right? Not necessarily that, but in general, and I'm focused from that point on. So once I put the cleats on, I'm ready. So.
And if the superstition no longer works, you know exactly who you have to blame here, by the way.
Yeah, myself.
All right. Mighty Mac Learned, appreciate the time as always.
Thank you.
Good luck the rest of the season. Good luck the rest of the career. I mean, everything you've done up to this point has led you to here, and it's not always an easy climb. Sometimes it's 2 steps up, sometimes it's 3 steps backwards, but you've gotten here because you've earned the right to get to this point. And that's something to be proud of. Happy but not content is the phrase I think we often use in this case. So anyway, Mighty Mac, appreciate the time. Thanks. Stay well, and best of luck to you. Be good.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, Scott.